Good evening, everybody. David Shepherd here. Welcome to our Thursday evening here in the UK Facebook Live. If you're a regular here, like Claire, for instance, I've just seen has already joined the Facebook Live. Hi, Claire. Good to see you again. If you're a regular here, then thanks for joining us and thanks for spreading the word and also giving us such fantastic feedback about the Facebook Lives and how much you're enjoying them. If you're new here, then let me just give you a little bit of background. We do a Facebook Live every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock GMT, though we get lots of people from all the way around the world, like Sue Warren, for instance, who I know is either probably in Australia or New Zealand at this point in time. Mike, good to see you too. So we do a Facebook Live every Thursday, 7 o'clock GMT, and it's around about 30 minutes. And I build these Facebook Lives around specific topics and specific questions that you guys out there in Facebook land want me to actually talk about. And the request actually from Diane Beck this week was about how can we use NLP to increase sales and conversions for coaches, therapists, trainers, speakers, or any kind of business as far as that's concerned. So that's where the title of Double Your Sales by Asking 3 More Questions came from. John Cummings, great to see you, John. Well, I can't see you, but you can see me. So where did this idea come from? You know, I read something in, I think it was 1990. And I read a book because I just set up my own business in 1990. I bought a franchise. And for the first time ever, I was selling myself. And to be honest with you, not doing a great job. And I read this book, and it was a study done in the States, and it said that 80% of all people that agreed to a meeting with a salesperson, walked into a shop, went into a car dealership, and I guess if we updated that information now as far as like visited an online store, 80% of those people had already decided that they wanted what the salesperson was selling, wanted what the shop was selling, wanted what the car dealership was selling, or wanted what that online store was selling. So therefore it said that your closing ratio should be 80%. Now that made me really, really curious because my closing ratio was only one figure different than that. It was that. My closing ratio was 0%. Hi Regina, hi Pauline. I actually had the uncomfortable realization that I would actually sell more if I didn't show up. People actually wanted what I was selling, wanted what I was offering until they met me. So it was not really learning how to sell to people that I needed to do. It was learning how to let them buy. So that's an interesting concept really, isn't it? As far as not selling, but allowing your prospects to buy by flipping the coin over. And that's what I want to talk about this evening. Because also what we discovered is that people don't make decisions based on logic, rationality, and sense. Now we know that because if 80% of people who approach you want what you're offering, you give them a logical, rational, sensible answer, sensible solution for them to get what they want, and then they don't buy. Just doesn't make sense. And when I'm running one of my seminars like Masters of Influence, where we talk a lot about this, then I ask people in the room how many people have had this experience. Even if it's not in a sales situation, you know, a very good friend of yours might come to you and ask you for some advice. They came to you because they value your advice. They tell you what the problem is, you give them a logical, rational and sensible solution to enable them to solve that problem, and then they either do nothing or they do something different. And you might have sat there afterwards going, why didn't they do it? It just doesn't make sense. Well, that's because we don't make decisions based on logic, rationality and sense. Everybody's had this experience in their buying behavior, you know. And again, I checked this on Masters of Influence, and a lot of people would think that it would be that the answer to this would be a very female thing, but it's not. It's both sexes equally. I say to them, okay, let's say that you needed and wanted to buy something, and you had an idea of how much you're willing to spend. You had a budget. You went out to find this thing that you need or you want, and then you saw something that was way better than you'd expected, and though it was significantly more expensive. You bought it anyway, but by the time you got home, you got a very logical, rational, sensible reason why you had to spend more money than you were planning. And again, I asked the entire audience on my seminars, and every single person puts a hand up to say that they've had that experience. So essentially, we don't make decisions based on logic, rationality, and sense. We make decisions based on this. So, what we need to do to be able to allow our customers to buy from us more is actually to get emotional engagement around our product or service. Now, in sales, Jackie Flavelle, hi Jackie, and Claire Wells, great to see you guys here. And which Jamie is there? Jamie Beaumont, great to see you, Jamie. I just got Jamie on the board there. So what we need to do is get emotional engagement. Now, here's something else that I learned in my early days in sales, which was to sell on USPs, unique selling points. Yeah? Know what your unique selling points are and make sure that your prospective client knows what they are. In actual fact, clients have unique buying points, or what I would call UBPs. Now, a prospect will buy from you if your USPs just happen to be the same as their UBPs. If they don't, then they won't buy from you, they'll buy from somebody else, even if it doesn't make sense to you. Now, what if we were able to discover what somebody's unique buying points were and make those our unique selling points? And that's what I'm going to share with you this evening, very, very quickly. And literally, we can discover what somebody's UBPs are by asking 3 more questions in our sales process to gather the information. Then I'll show you how to utilize that to allow those people to buy. And what comes into this is the person's values. We have values for everything, and we have values for everything that we buy. We have values for a car, we have values for a house, we have values for shoes, we have values for the food that we buy, etc. And our values are unconscious, and they are emotional. They are the things that we feel most strongly about a car, a house, a pair of shoes, a suit, etc. So if we can discover what a person's values are for what we're selling, and then demonstrate to the prospective client how our product or service satisfies their values more than our competitors, then they will buy from us. We literally get out of the way and enable them to buy from us. So how do we find out what somebody's values are? We ask the question, what's important to you about ... whatever it is that you're wanting to sell. What's important to you about coaching? What's important to you about training? What's important to you about a car? What's important to you about a house? What's important to you about a pair of shoes? What's important to you about a suit? And what you'll find is that people will give you 3 or 4 answers. So they'll probably give you 3 or 4 words. And what I then want to do is have them put them in order of importance. So let's say we were talking about in-house training, for instance. I'd ask somebody, what's important to you about a training program? And let's say they say price, results, and fun. And we then say, okay, so which of those would be the most important? And even though price came out first, they say that results is the most important, price is then next, and fun is then third. Now, these are what motivate a person to take action. They're the emotional drivers that drive them to take action. And as we've talked about in previous Facebook Lives, motivation comes in two directions. There's the motivation to avoid what you don't want, and there's a motivation to enable you to get what you do want. Yeah? So these values are driven by the avoidance of pain and the gaining of pleasure. So what we need to do is we need to discover what those drivers are, the towards and away from drivers are, underneath these particular values. And we do that by asking the question, why is whatever the value is, i.e. results, important to you? And listen to the answer as to whether the answer they give you is something that they want to move away from, or something they want to avoid, or whether it's something that they want to get, or some pleasure that this thing is going to enable them to get. When they give you that answer, make a note of it, a mental note of it, or write it down, then you'd ask the question again, why is their answer important to you? Again, we're listening, is it something they want to avoid, or is it something that they want to get? Now, once we've got that information, so let's say we've got here that results was the number one, and why that was important to them was for profit, and also for, let's say, sustainability. Both of those potentially, both of these being towards. Let's say they said price because they don't want to buy something that's expensive, therefore that's an away from, and they want value. And that's actually financial value I'm talking about there, not value as in things that are important. So we've got an away from and a towards. Let's say they say, so why is fun important to you? Because they don't want it to be boring. That's an away from. And why is that important? Because they want their audience to be engaged. That's a towards. So now we've got this very nice motivational blueprint, or what I would call this particular client's UBP's unique buying points. So now what we need to do is to demonstrate to them how our training program, if that's what we're selling, actually satisfies these things. And then when we close, we'd say, well, you know, the most important thing to us about our training programs is that they get real tangible results for our clients. Because at the end of the day, results are important because that's what enables our clients to make money, get profit, and also to have those results be sustainable. Also, price is an issue as well for a lot of our clients. So we're not the most expensive training provider in the marketplace, because one of the things that's really important for us is that we provide our clients with huge amounts of value. And then at the end of the day, even with results and with a fair price, then the only way that we're going to be able to get the kind of engagement that we want from the delegates is to make sure that our trainings are not boring and that they're fun. then what we would do at that particular point in time is that we would close the client on their values. Now, I know some of you probably might do a two-step kind of sales process where you go in for a meeting, for a fact find, and then after doing a fact find you put together a proposal, and then maybe you go and deliver a presentation. So how would we use this in a business presentation or a sales presentation for a client? And this is really, really cool. I've done this so many times, and so many of my students and so many of my mentoring clients have done exactly the same thing. And they phone me up after the meeting and they go, whoa, that was it was almost like magic. It was so impressive. So let's have a look at how we take this and turn it into a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, got Jim Rees. How you doing, Jim? And Phil Atkinson. Phil, haven't seen you for a long time. You need to stop by, come do a training with us soon. There we go. Well, it is about selling, Phil. Of course, I'm going to sell to you. So let's have a look at how we put this into a PowerPoint presentation. So what we've got here is we've got 3 values. And we build into the presentation 3 slides for the client, with the title of the first slide being, you guessed it, results. Is the title. And then the bullet points underneath are the reasons why that's important, which was on this one, was profit and sustainability. And obviously what you do in your PowerPoint is that would come up, and then these would be the reveal underneath, the animation underneath. Then let's have a look then what we do around. Second slide, of course, would be price. And what we do with price, if you remember, we had an away from and a towards. Now it's really important that we fire these away from and towards off in the appropriate order. There's a reason why. Away froms feel bad, whereas towards feel good. And although a client with away froms will need to have those away froms fired off to get them to take the action of buying, it makes them feel bad. And to enable us to get long-term sustainable customers, which is what we're actually aiming for here with a true win-win, then they will continue buying from us as long as we leave them feeling good. So what we're looking at here is using the away from to get traction and using the towards to get momentum. So here we would have on our slide, not expensive. Now here's another thing that I've just thought about. You know, in NLP we've got this thing, don't think of a blue tree. So what we'd be tempted to do is to turn that around to a towards. Here we don't do that. We use the client's words exactly, because they're almost like analog digital anchors. Yeah? So we need to use the client's words exactly, not to rephrase them or reword them or reframe them in our thinking, because if you did, you wouldn't get the same emotional engagement. Yeah? So we've got not expensive as the driver about moving away from, and then value being the second bullet point on that slide to shift the away to the towards. Then we had fun, and again we would do the not boring first, and then we would do the engagement next. Now the kind of things that my clients and students have said is that when they do this, I had one particular client, we put this together for a presentation for him in a software sale, and he'd elicited the values from the decision maker. This is another important thing actually as I'm going through this. It's live, I'm having key things pop into my head. It's really important that you get the decision maker's values. Yeah, because it's then you've got to motivate to take the action to sign on the bottom line and give you the money. So he elicited these from the decision maker in one particular meeting. Then we had a mentoring session, and we looked at how do we take the information that he gathered in that meeting and put it together in the PowerPoint presentation that he was going to give the client the proposal from. And again, he had, I think, 4 values, so there were 4 slides, and there were a number of away froms and towards underneath, because you might get more than 2 answers. You know, you might go, why is that important to you? They go, because of this, because of this, because of this. Yeah, so you might not necessarily just get 2 here, you might have more. If I remember rightly, we had about 4 slides, and there were about 3 or 4 bullet points under each one. So we structured it in the order and sequence of importance, away froms first, and then towards. This potential client, in the middle of this presentation, leapt up, actually physically leapt up from his seat, when this is absolutely amazing, this is exactly what we want. No one else seems to have actually got this like you have. Please, can we just stop the presentation for a while, because I want to go and bring in the rest of my team to see this, because this is so brilliant. Imagine that happening in your sales meetings. Do you think that would make a difference to your closing ratio? I think you know the answer to that. But equally, you know, are you going to have very, very satisfied clients? Yeah? Now, of course, then the important thing is with this, so you get the sale, you get the decision, you've got the coaching contract, you've got the training contract, you've sold the car, you've sold the house, whatever it is, but they've also told you exactly what it is that you need to deliver for them to be a really happy client. You know, and I was talking to someone, I was doing a webinar a couple of nights ago, and what we had in that was that, you know, in the old days of selling before the internet, they used to say that an unhappy customer would tell, like, literally everybody that they weren't happy, whereas a happy customer might tell 2 or 3. I think now, how many people an unhappy customer can tell because of social media, now, rather than it being like 50 or 60 people, could be literally thousands of people. So we really want to make sure that we have very, very satisfied customers, not only for our reputation, but also so that they remain a customer for a long time. So what they've done is they've told you what you need to, the perception that you need to create when you deliver to them what it is they bought are these things. They've given you the blueprint, they've given you the map, and provided you've created an experience for them of buying from you and satisfying these things here, not only do you get that piece of business, but at the end of it you have a very, very happy customer who's going to keep coming back because of the fact that you satisfy their values. Equally, they're going to tell other people about you too. What this means is that essentially we generate our presentation, our proposal, our pitch, if you want, specifically for the client. You wouldn't sell to each client the same way, which is the old way of, like, these are my USPs, here's my USPs. If you're interested in the USPs, you buy from me, but if you're not, you don't. What we're doing now is we are tailor-making each of our presentations, each of our sales processes, specifically and uniquely for the prospect in front of us. Which, you know, the interesting thing here is that, you know, some people have given sales a bad rap, selling a bad rap. And if we look at the origins of the word sales or selling, it comes from a Scandinavian word called selje. And what selje roughly translates to is to serve. So if you've got somebody who has a need or a want, and you don't create the environment where they can buy that from you and have that need or want satisfied, you haven't served them. Now that puts a very different spin, doesn't it, on selling. Equally, by doing this, finding out what these things are, then truly what we are doing is we are being of service to our clients. So it does so much stuff for us. It also, from an NLP point of view, builds rapport. Because what we're doing is we're saying, well, we're the same as you, which is what rapport is all about. So before we finish, just a quick recap on how we actually go about doing that. How do we go about doubling our sales by asking 3 more questions? So the first question is, what's important to you about whatever it is that you want to put there? And, you know, I'm wanting to get 3 or 4 answers there. So if you only get 2, you can say, so what else is important to you about a car? Until you've got 3 or 4 answers. Then we have the prospective client, put them into order of importance. They might come out in the order of importance, but quite often what I've found is that they don't. Quite often what comes out is the first one is the one that they're most conscious about, but not necessarily the one that's the most important. So in this example here, the person is most consciously aware of the importance of price, but it wasn't actually the most important. And I'm not saying that there aren't people where price and money isn't the most important value, but my question to you is this. Do you want clients where price is the most important thing? Because the thing is, next time you sell to them, they're going to want to drive down the price. Then they're going to want to drive down the price again. And they're going to want to drive down the price again. Because that's the way that they think, that's what motivates them. Do we want to have those kind of people as our clients? Or do we want kind of clients that want results? And if we can demonstrate that we give more results, they'll spend more money. We've all done it before. We've all gone out, bought something that was more expensive, and then we've done conscious mind kind of post-processing to actually give good, rational, sensible reasons as to why we spent more money. But in actual fact, we didn't spend more money because it was rational, sensible, and logical. We did it based on these things. Then we ask the question, why are each of those values important to you? And why else? Why else? Why else? And that enables us then to get the towards and away froms underneath. So why is price important to you? And they said, not expensive. And say, so why is it important for it not to be expensive? Use that example I just done. And the person says, because I want value. Cool. Yeah. Then we can build our presentation either verbally or into PowerPoint slides. This, you will actually see the person's physiology of motivation and wanting building as you go through those particular slides or you go through those unique buying points. And at that point in time, when you have the most intense emotion, that's when ABC, always be closing. Ask them for the business at the end of it. So, thanks for joining me this evening at our Facebook Live. I'm already getting quite a list of other things that people want me to cover. I had a request from Lydia about doing something around personal relationships, intimate relationships, from an NLP perspective, so I'm going to do one of those. Also, I've been asked for a HUNA Part 2, so we're going to do that. And I'm going to do HUNA Part 2 probably either next Thursday or the Thursday afterwards, because the next 2 Facebook Lives, 7 o'clock GMT on Thursday, I'll actually be broadcasting from o'clock GMT for you guys. It'll be something like 9 o'clock in the morning for me on the big island of Hawaii. So I'm going to show you around a little bit, maybe give you some views into our HUNA intensive that we're doing out there. So thanks again for joining me. Thanks for your support. If you want to share this video with anybody, please do. I'll be uploading it into David Shepherd's Facebook Live group, so it's easy for you to find all of those particular videos, so please join that group if you want to be updated with that. And also, I'm going to give you a little bit of a heads up. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. GMT, here on Facebook, I'm going to do a brief Facebook Live to announce something which is absolutely huge. It's absolutely massive. I have been working on it for the last year. It's probably the thing that I'm the most excited about at this particular point in time. It's an absolute game changer. I've had real problems keeping a lid on it and not telling more people about it. But I'm going to be announcing it to the world here tomorrow, 3 p.m. Friday, 3 p.m. GMT. Obviously, if you're doing other things at that particular point in time, it will still be recorded so you can look at it later. And so I'll leave you with that kind of curiosity that you now have as far as what is David Shepherd going to be announcing at 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Have a great evening, have a great day wherever you are. Thanks again for joining us for Facebook Live.